Okay, furthermore, that this pointer, you know, in that previous program, this is a new one, use this because that ambiguity. Okay, well, that's that's sometimes common in constructors. I've seen that happen several times, and for the same reason. You got some ambiguity here. The compiler doesn't know which weight you're referring to. Is the weight member variable or the weight passed in through this? Because this is just temporary. Remember, I mean, this is within the scope of, the supposed scope of the function. In this case, the scope right here. Now, what we have here is called a constructor. Okay, and it's named the same as the class. And then there's a destructor also. When you declare a constructor, you've got to declare a destructor too. Otherwise, you won't have one. If you don't declare one, it'll just use the default constructors, which you never see. But if you can define a constructor, which in this case, will actually set, replace our old setter variable function with a constructor. So when you are creating the object, instantiating the object, as they say, you can assign the initial variables. Now, usually you tend to overload these constructors and have one that's default. Okay, so if somebody doesn't want to assign variables when they create an object, an instance of the object, they just leave this out. And so on and so on. Or you can have them overloaded with different parameters, etc. So when your object is created, it can do certain things, and that's actually used quite a bit. But you would also, just like it says in this note, need to have a setter method, because once your constructor is called, it's only called once, and the destructor is only called once too. And I think it executes, I can't remember, but I think it executes the code when a constructor is called. There's an order, and I can't remember what it is, but I analyzed that in another program. A destructor, is, for example, I think called, the actual destruction isn't executed until the code in here is executed. Okay, and then the destructor does its dirty deed, and then it's just the opposite, I think, when a constructor is called. So, but you can do more than just set function variables and stuff in here. You can initialize things and set up subclass or nested classes and all this other shit. This example program is pretty simple. It really just does the same thing the previous program did in the previous video, but it just does it with constructors and destructors, which really don't do anything instead. So but other than that, it's pretty straightforward. So just remember too, classes, unlike functions, always end with a semicolon, by the way. So, but Microsoft will create that for you automatically, so you don't have to worry about it. So let's open up the next one. Okay, that was our constructor thing. Now we got an overloaded constructor. I don't want to rename. Okay, now this is a little more involved. So you got a destructor there, got a constructor here, which sets the variables, and another constructor here which just sets a couple of them, which is what I was talking about earlier. So this would be, like a destructor with default values. I mean, a constructor with default values. So, and this is a constructor where you input the values. And this is a constructor where you input all three of these values. This one just two of them. So this is overloading this constructor function. But again, because they're still improperly, named the same as the frickin' member variables. And again, this is where you should put M age, M weight, M color, so you can avoid conflicts like that. So it's a good practice to name your variables that way. That way you know they're member variables. So you're working with your class. On the other hand, it's not entirely necessary. So again, if you have well-constructed encapsulation, it's kind of unnecessary. Um, I would suggest that, Chile almost never does that, but I would suggest, having your, age marked as in age or in weight or in color or something like that, rather than, you know, renaming your member variables. So, but it's up to you, you know. But again, this doesn't do anything more interesting than the other classes, which are boring, talking about your fucking dog, okay, and classifying dogs. Wow, that's a great use of programming. I'm glad I'm learning this. So, it's just, pretty fucking silly. These programs are ridiculous. Totally pointless. Oh, Poochie's a great dog, and 4 years old, and weighs 18 pounds, and woofs. Okay, that's a great example of what a fucking member function is. What the fuck is that? Oh, Rex is, who gives a shit? Fucking idiots. Anyway, so I won't say anything more about this. Let's open the next motherfucker here. Okay. Overloaded constructors, so we need cleaned up class or whatever. I don't know what that means. I can't see it from over here. Okay. Yeah. Cleaned up class. Okay. This is just probably the same thing with all the commented out sections removed. Yeah, because we got our class dog, we got a couple of member functions declared in here that, looks like it's been slightly overloaded. Again, inline functions, that's as complex as they get. Set values, so we got our setter methods again. And we got our dog constructors, 3 of them, a destructor, and then our getter methods. That returns a string, so, okay. Our constructors, destructor, our setter method, it sets everything at once. Okay, and then we, call that sumbitch, and it does pretty much the same boring shit as last time. Fido is a brown dog and weighs 15 pounds and woofs and is 3 years old. Who gives a flying fuck? I mean, what the? Oh god, these fucking idiots. This is what just pisses me off. So I wasted over a month, studying this shit and sit there and say, what's the fucking point? I know there's a point because everybody's programming in OOP these days, but you study shit like this ad nauseum. I imagine more people drop out of this just because of, I don't know, pure apathy, more than anything else. Now, it's not because, some of these people might be really good potential programmers, but, well, they're never going to learn it because they got bored to death before they ever got out of square one. Okay, so what the fuck was that? Overloaded constructors, cleaned up class, okay, Polygon Class. Now, this is at least starting to do something sort of kind of marginally interesting, I think. But I'll probably get to that tomorrow because it's getting late. Oh, okay. This this is inheritance. This is getting into a different topic, and I need to concentrate on this. This isn't just plain Jane shit. Even Chili hadn't talked about inheritance yet for some reason. Anyway,